What's up everybody, this is your boy Sewell. Today's video we're gonna be talking about how good Philip is and what impact he has to the current field meta. So first of all, let's talk about the current open field meta. Well, if you play open field a lot, probably you would say today's open field is all about marching speed and tons of damage. Like one single mistake or misclick or wrong positioning is gonna end up so bad in terms of trading. Because most of the cases, your HP bar just disappear in 2 seconds. Now with that being said, I noticed in this meta, many players just doing some sort of poke and then pull troops away instead of just standing there and fight to death. Simply because it is too risky and the cost is so huge. Now given that the open field is still all about AoE damage, what could be an asset to this meta in my opinion is actually marching speed and randomness skill. And of course, first round of skill. Because even if it's in Imperium, I don't see much ball versus ball situation this year. I mean, part of the reason could be too many people just quit. But eventually what we have the most is actually the poking and the pulling away troop situation in a relatively smaller murder ball. So I would say in this meta, if a commander doesn't do AoE damage and he or she doesn't have any marching speed or randomness skill, it's a trash commander. And what is actually contradicting so bad to today's open field is actually the meta we used to use, which I called Trajan William double raging meta, which gives huge boost to skill cycles after having your active skills. But on the other hand, this meta needs tons of time to warm up. Technically, 10 seconds to have your ultimate ready, and then 3 more seconds to have all the rage. So literally, this meta has nothing to do with the first round of skill. Now this is actually so bad in today's meta, because like I mentioned, today's meta is all about damage, because the killing march is so fast, which leads to the fact that it gets easier to get out of combat and get rage reset. Now if we're using your numbers to represent skill cycles, like 1, 2, 3, 4, I would say in this meta, the most of time we have is actually 0 to 1 and 1 to 2. Simply because we are pulling troops away, or we killed someone, or we get out of combat. Any of those reasons may have a rage reset. Now as long as your rage gets reset, you need another 10 seconds to start off to get your cycle on. That's why Trajan is out of meta. Because he's slow, he needs time to warm up, and he does 0 damage. Even if his buff is so strong, but this is KVK we are talking about, where everybody cares about their trades. Just imagine pulling Trajan out in this meta, what does it look like to you? A free DKP. With that being said, how should we judge Philip, who also have some sort of buff? Well, in my opinion, what makes Philip valuable in this meta is actually not his buff, but his second, third, fourth skill, like the raw stats, 20% speed, 30% all damage, and 1 randomness skill, especially the marching speed and the randomness. Because without those 2 skills, Philip will just end up like Trajan sitting on the bench. Now you can see Philip's skill set actually fits so well in the current meta. That's why I keep mentioning like Philip is never like Trajan. To me, it's more like a Honda 2.0 or Alex 2.0. Someone literally can pair with everything. Now people may have concern about his buff coverage and whether he needs to be primary, these kind of questions. I would say somehow you can ignore all of those when it comes to real battle. Because my point is, lots of synergy only live in theory. When it comes to real fights, most of cases, it just never work. For example, Nevsky 4 skill, it looks matching so well with Joan Prime, who can do 2 ultis in the first round of skill. But when it comes to real fight, as long as you're pulling troop away during the skill cycle, the second ultimate from Joan Prime will just never get that 35% of skill damage increase. Or you can say, in real fight, Sargon will never have his ultimate fully work in terms of 5 hits. Or let me ask you in this way, have you ever thought Liu Che Alex or Zhuge Herman, this kind of pairing, whose secondary seem to have some great debuffs? Why don't we put him in the primary? Because I tell you what, when it comes to real fight, you always want the damage comes out first, and you want fast ultimate. That's it. Like most likely, you wouldn't even give a shit on if those synergy really works out. But instead, what you really care about must be the trading number on your actual report. Because trust me, in real fights, your enemy moves so that your marchers move too, just for better positioning. So the thing I want to bring up now is, I just found too many people just focus too much on figuring out how those synergy really work, but somehow they forget how strong a pair needs to be. So if you're asking me, Philip should go with whom? My answer will probably just like before. Philip with any OP AoE commanders. That's it. So either Liu Che, Ragnar, or Zhuge are going to work well with Philip. Primary or secondary doesn't really matter, all depends on your gears. And if you have skill talent tree, you better go with skill talent tree, which really fits well into this open field meta. And as for support tree, I mean, it is good on skill cycle, but in today's meta, if you want to compare the first round of skill and damage, just a tier lower than skill tree, 100%. So eventually, if you have built one commander so well, then going for Philip is worth it. Just like my Zhuge. With a full set of inscription on Wedge, I use Zhuge Philip all the way on our pass 4. And turns out it's pretty good, just like the meta. But I mean, if you're free to play, you lack of marches, you lack on commanders, then probably just forget about Philip right now. Go straight for those DPS commanders first. Because the idea of Philip is like sacrificing a little bit damage from the troop he pair with, but as trade-off, you get some support ability for your own. Now regarding his ultimate, to me it's not a major course, but it's better than nothing. As same as the expertise skill. Like literally, every single cycle, there's 48% chance of nothing happens. So in my opinion, the proper way to understand this commander is actually not focusing on his ulti and expertise skill. So if I'm trying to order the importance of Philip's skills in terms of the best value to the current meta, it should be his second skill, and then third skill, and then fourth skill, and then ultimate, and then lastly, his expertise skill. So if you don't treat Philip as a buff commander, now you get the idea how to pair him. Just goes whoever's strong in the game. Simple like that. I mean, the pairing in this game is actually quite simple. Like whoever is OP can make an OP pair with anyone else. If there's some sort of synergy going on, that'll be better. But if a commander originally sucks, even if there is so much synergy going on with someone else, most likely this pair is still going to be a trash. Now consider we have commander swap next year. I would suggest everybody to get a trash commander expertise now, just for swapping Philip in the future. Now last but not least, let's talk about how Philip is going to impact on each troop type. Cavs goes first. The meta 2 Cav don't need Philip, because either Huo or Nevsky, both of them are doing single damage with tons of skill damage increase. So if you're putting Philip on the secondary spot instead of some AoE commander, it'll be a huge loss in terms of damage, and I don't think it's worth it. Because technically speaking, Philip just has less value towards Cavs if comparing to infantry and archer, because number one, Cavs are not slow. Apparently they don't need more speed. And then secondly, the raw stats that Philip gives to Cav is actually attack. It's just worse than the defense and health too when paired with infantry and archer. So that being said, the only option that fits Philip at the moment for cavalry is just Joan Prime. And you wouldn't pair like this unless you're running 3 Cavs. I'll probably just wait for a new generation of Cav. Now you don't need to worry about even if the new commander is doing combo damage, just because you can pair with Philip anyway. So if no rush, Cav player just probably wait. Now infantry is quite simple. If you are still using Liu Che Alex, then a better option is just Liu Che Philip. As for 2 infantry, you can go with Ragnar Scipio and then Liu Che Philip. For 3 infantries, you can go with Ragnar Philip, GY Scipio, and then Wallace Liu Che. If you don't have Wallace, probably you can go Ragnar Alex, Liu Che Philip, and GY Scipio. Now as for archers, 2 archers are just doing too much AoE. That is so great, and I don't think it's a good idea to replace with Philip, which is going to lose too much damage. But unless you don't have the second level 5 boots. Let's say if one of your archers is extremely slow, then you can go with Philip. So most likely it's going to be Zhuge March. Because eventually the problem on archer marches is never strength, it's speed. Now as for support march like 5th Shaja kind of thing, if you really understand what I'm talking about in this video, you wouldn't be asking. I'm not a big fan of Shaja, but I mean definitely you can go with her on open field. But the thing is, she has to be primary. Because if Shaja being secondary, literally does 0 damage. Now that's it for today. Hope this video helps you out. Remember to drop a like and subscribe. And I'll see you next one.
点赞加关注，感谢您的支持。